Will Kayatin here from KVAC. We are live from the Holler production broadcasting studio here in Hazard, Kentucky. And it is Tuesday, November 19th, 2019. And to my right, I am joined by a very special guest, Mr. Larry Adams. Many of you will recognize him because he has been a mainstay at our region-wide transition conferences over the past few years. Many of you in our audience have also had the privilege and luxury of hosting Mr. Adams at your school for in-school workshops. And so we decided we wanted to get together today and have a conversation about our work together collaboratively and the opportunities that you will have as teachers serving your students in this all-important transition work as we move forward. So, with that brief intro, and I do have to pause for just a moment because, and Larry's, I'm gonna embarrass him a little bit because he really is a star. He's a movie star, and not sure when Hollywood will show up with bags of money and pull him away from us, but he's got a very powerful story and journey, and it's a luxury to have him in our region, helping young people, inspiring them to be great today and great every day. And so he is the owner and operator, he's an entrepreneur, of the very successful karate studios in Whitesburg, Letcher County, Kentucky, Hazard, Perry County, Kentucky, and Pikeville, Pike County, Kentucky. He has been managing these studios for years. Hundreds and hundreds of young people and adults have had the pleasure of enjoying being trained and coached and supported by a 7th degree black belt. And there are not too many of those in the world. So over the past number of years, we've become friends and colleagues. And while we have him here in our region, and hopefully he'll never leave because he is such a jewel here in Eastern Kentucky, we will make him available to you at your schools at our region-wide transition conferences. So thank you, Master Larry, and that's the appropriate title as a 7th degree black belt in karate to call you and refer to you. So please take a few minutes and talk to our audience about who you are and where you come from and a little bit about your story and your journey, because it's very powerful. It's a story and a journey that you share with students and teachers when we go out and visit with them in their schools.
Okay. Well, thank you, Will. It's a pleasure.
Yes, sir.
My journey started when I was about 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I was an aspiring martial artist. My uncle was an instructor,
Mm-hmm.
and for a couple of years there, they wouldn't let me out on the floor. And there's actually pictures of me in like the playpen, wanting to get out
Mm-hmm.
and cry and
Mm-hmm.
wanting to do class, and so it's had a major impact on my life. I did that up until I was 18 years old, and I went to the military. And when I got out, I wanted to teach. That was my big thing. I wanted to. When I was 5 years old, and they asked what I wanted to do when I grew up, I said I wanted to be a karate instructor. I didn't say I wanted to be a black belt. I said I wanted to be an instructor. Because I enjoyed that feeling of that inspiration that my Uncle Larry, that I was named after, gave to me. And so, in doing that, when I came back home, my big thing was I just wanted to make people safer. It was the self-defense, and through teaching the self-defense, I learned really quick it didn't really matter what I taught. It didn't matter how I taught it. If people didn't understand how to think for themselves, how to manage their fears, in self-defense, but in life, that you don't really get to the moves if you can't figure out that puzzle, that riddle in your head, right? Mm-hmm. And so I took a long, deep look at performance psychology, mindset, mental toughness, and then eventually it became fear management, because most people have no idea how to manage their fear. We always, in our presentations, I'll sort of jokingly bring up, when someone catches on fire, when we're taught from this high, what do? We stop, we drop, we roll, right? Well, what happens when someone does catch on fire? If you've ever seen that, they panic, they smack and they run, right? And they actually fuel the fire with that oxygen when they're running. And so that's what fear management is. It's one of those metacognitive principles where you have a deeper understanding of how you think and what makes you think that way, and how to translate that so that you can work productively, and it's something that we don't teach in the public school systems, but it's really, really powerful when kids understand these concepts.
And that is the foundation of one of a number of in-school workshops that we have hosted in schools over the past year and a half, and
Yes.
It's been very impactful. And the compatibility with the transition work is really fairly clear. Not only are we sharing with them this wonderful, positive, successful role model as a business person, entrepreneur, but we're also weaving through the presentation a very strong thread of self-advocacy, because self-advocacy really is multifaceted. And so when we're talking about fear management through the workshop that you present, that's what life is predicated on. That's what karate in part is predicated on. So to me, it made perfect sense to reach out to you to ask you to do educational sessions at our region-wide transition conferences. But starting, I think, last winter, we exported your fuller workshop into the schools,
Right.
because it was all very, very compatible with the transition work, because karate, like life, is based on self-advocacy. So if you want to speak a little bit more about that particular workshop and what teachers and students can expect in an hour and 20 minutes, and we typically will host these workshops in a morning session as well as an afternoon session, whatever works for the teachers and schools and their schedules with their students. But then you've got some new stuff too. So if you don't care, Larry, talk a little bit more about the fear management in-school workshop that we have enjoyed hosting in schools, and that all-important connection to self-advocacy, because self-advocacy is, at its core, fear management.
Right.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah, the underlying message that we bring, whether it be with the fear management or the self-advocacy talks, the mindset piece that we've been working on and doing, and I've done in other places, is that we want to convey to children that we are ultimately in control of all of the outcomes, all of the results in our lives, if we take total ownership, absolute ownership of how we think, of what we do, and how we connect with people. And if we can do that, this is how we optimize both our healthiness and our happiness, right? But there's hurdles there. There's hurdles there. There's, fear gets involved because we all want to aspire to great things. We've all wanted to do things in our lives that we haven't done. Mm-hmm. And when you ask someone, why didn't you do that? If you peel the onion long enough, you get down to fear. And again, it's just most people don't understand. It's either the fear, or the flip side of that is they don't understand motivation. They don't understand what it is that they need to that they need to employ to keep that drive, to keep that purpose, to keep thriving, and so through these workshops, we're able to give kids a sort of a formula to be able to do that, and to teach them these little fear management principles, like the psychology of intimidation, which is when they're thinking about what this problem, what this person, what this situation can do to them, as opposed to what they can do about the situation, right?
That's very powerful. And we know it's impactful because when students and teachers, after your workshop, want to come take a picture with you,
right.
Because our students in this generation are very distracted with all the devices and all the bells and whistles that they have at their disposal. So the fact that they're willing to stick around and they all want to take pictures with Master Larry Adams.
Well, that tells me we sparked a mind,
yes,
right?
We did.
We've done our job. So.
And that's really what our work is all about, in inspiring and motivating them to be the best version of themselves. And they can do anything they want to do as long as they're willing to put in the work. And again, the threads woven through your workshops and schools is all about patience and long-term deferred gratification, persistence. We like to put that under the umbrella of grit, whether we're talking about intellectual grit or physiological grit. It's all compounded together. So I know we're making a difference in the lives of young people, and our audience, I'm sure, is looking forward to us bringing you out to their schools. Some have enjoyed your workshops, and there's a bunch of schools that have not scheduled you yet. So we want to encourage our audience who will see this video promo of the opportunities to send a little note to me, and let's get Master Larry Adams scheduled in your school for some workshops, because even if you enjoyed his workshops last year, take a few minutes to talk to some of the new stuff that you've developed that they can enjoy if they hosted you last year. Because you've got some new stuff that that you shared with me.
The problem is when we go in and we do these presentations is we're handcuffed by time, right? And so most people don't understand how to manage their fear, and most people don't realize that fear impacts, affects, or compromises every decision we make, everything we do, and whether or not we follow through on those things. And so learning how to navigate that is crucial, right? To any pyramid that looks like success. Now, the flip side of that is the mindset piece, where we discuss the difference between like the fixed and the growth mindset. When if you were to take two cohorts of any individuals and ask them, would you rather be that kid that just ace all the tests and they barely have to study, or the athlete that are shooting 80% of their free throws without any hardly practice at all, or would you want to be that kid that has to show up early, that has to work the hardest, that has to stay later, in order to compete? Who would you want to be? I think that we would all want to be that kid that's talented. I think we would pick the short road there. But what happens is especially in, we're talking to high school athletes and high school children here, that if a lot of times we'll peak there in high school and we'll thrive in high school, and we'll because we have that talent. But when we make it to the next level, and it was just the talent, then all of a sudden everyone else is as talented as you are. You look around and you go, wait, do I have what it takes to be here? But those kids that understand the growth mindset, those kids that understand stick-to-itness and mental toughness and grit and do not stop under any circumstances, when they get there and they have to work harder, this is their wheelhouse, right? So whether it be with study, with sport, with any endeavor, if we understand the concepts of mental toughness, of grit, of what I call wit, which is will, indignation. In other words, I'm not going to let this stop me, right? And tenacity, to stick to it. When you understand that paradigm, it's powerful stuff.
That's exciting.
Oh yeah,
that's exciting. So, if this doesn't get you jazzed up, to invite Larry to come and visit with your students, I'm not sure anything will. So it's also important for you to know that for years, Larry has coached police officers.
Oh, yeah.
Talk a little bit about, I want to make sure you're not an upstart when it comes to going out and...
Oh, no.
My goodness,
we take this piece everywhere. Like I said, this isn't just something directed at high school students. This is life that we're talking about. And so, I've trained military, police officers, women in women's shelters, all the way down to the little 4-year-old classes. The most important piece of any puzzle that we put together that looks like self-defense, that looks like productivity, right? That looks like success. It starts with the mindset, and I think that's something that's incredibly overlooked. And it's not really focused on in school, and that is one of the reasons why I take it there, because I see a hole there, a gap that we can fill, that'll help these children with their lives. It's just extremely important.
That's wonderful, and it's a real treat and privilege, Larry, that as busy as you are with work and family and life, and you do like to get out in the deer woods occasionally and hunt like I do. It's hard to manufacture time to do other things, and yet you've been really good about booking in schools over the course of the year. And even though we may run into some inclement weather, we can always reschedule, so don't let that deter you, teachers, as you watch this video promo about this amazing opportunity. So I think we are close to adjourning, and unless you have any parting comments, Larry, to share with our audience.
Oh no, I'm just really looking forward to getting out there.
Yeah.
When you're, the teachers know this, when you look into the eyes of a child and you see that spark, when you realize that something you have said has created this aha moment in them, and that was the roadblock, right? This one thing, there's no greater feeling. And then when those kids later on, they contact you. And a lot of your kids have, and they'll get on our business page and say, I just want to thank you, because this is what you did. It's priceless.
Yes.
It's priceless.
Yes. Well said. With that, we will adjourn, and we look forward to seeing you. And it's customary for us to share as we part and close this video. We'll holler at you later.